Borderlands 4 is actually trying to open Pandora's box and is hoping that none of you notice these things, while also promising to be the next great shooting game that will unite all the players and cause a second coming for this franchise. That's if you believe the hype and the trailers at least. However, beneath the surface, Borderlands 4 has some concerns in it that have still not been addressed, and it's rightfully being called out after concerns are falling seemingly on deaf ears. This then brings me to some other things I want to talk about first. The Collector's Edition has also been announced and features all sorts of things for you to enjoy, like a big statue, a cloth map of Kairos, cards, golden keys, even a necklace. This all sounds great, or I mean it would be, but the problem is that the Collector's Edition, as seen here in the bottom right, doesn't even come with the game when you buy this. Why are companies doing this? But then Gearbox came in after people were confused as to why this $150 Collector's Edition didn't even have the game included. Gearbox would then say via a post on Twitter, and goddammit Gearbox with that profile picture anyway, they said, the Echo 4 bundle was mislabeled as a Borderlands 4 Collector's Edition. This has been corrected on the website. So it's not a Collector's Edition, but it is because it's a bunch of things tied to a game that people want, that they can collect to showcase how much they love that franchise by buying it. Yeah, it's a Collector's Edition. This is like a company firing someone, and then the employee going, "How can you fire me?" And the company goes, "No, you misunderstand. We're just promoting you to customer is all." So I wish that was the end of all the, WTFs. However, Borderlands 4 keeps lying regardless, and it's kind of crazy to see. So this is why I wanted to make the video in the first place. So we all know people don't like it when games have stuff like de novo or DRM. And in case you're unaware of what that even is, de novo is a software that game companies put on their games so that their games cannot be pirated, because it tracks whether the game is bought for or stolen, and then they can do things like lock that player's account down for, sailing the high seas. But players then noticed on Borderlands 4's Steam page, as seen here, that the game will not only have de novo, but it will also have something called Symbiote. Yeah, Borderlands 4 is going to have some kind of Venom thing showing up in your software, so what the hell is going on? So, I had to look into this because, like you, I was confused who and what even is Symbiote. I had to go look around. I even asked Grok because information available on Symbiote was very, very light no matter where I looked. What I could find was that Symbiote is apparently a lesser-known proprietary version of de novo that has likely been developed in-house by Gearbox and 2K, which owns Gearbox. And while, of course, Gearbox is being coy about this, based on what I've read about Symbiote, is that it's an anti-piracy software that actually works, get this, on the kernel level of your computer system. So, not everyone's going to understand what I just said, so let me explain. The kernel of an operating system within a computer is the central core of your computer. It's like the beating heart, soul, and mind, if you will, of every single computer that is out there. All your hardware and software, it works in tandem with this. When you first turn on your computer, that kernel is the first thing that fires up. And when you turn it off, it's the last thing to shut off, making sure that everything else goes first. So just think of the kernel like the heart of the operating system, and you pretty much understand. Anyway, so this Symbiote thing that 2K and Gearbox have developed will, if you buy the game on Steam anyways, it will latch on to the very heart of your computer's entire infrastructure when you buy and install Borderlands 4. The problem here is twofold. One is that de novo, or DRM, can cause all sorts of problems for your computer when you play games that have this anti-piracy software installed, obviously. Things like your frames per second dropping, it can cause really bad lag, and in extreme cases, can even shorten the lifespan of the entire computer itself, like the SSD, for example, or solid-state drive. So the thing that your data is saved on in your computer, DRM kind of makes the integrity of that thing worse, and also lasts shorter because of what it requires and does to your computer. So, this is why so many people are vocally against DRM or de novo, and downright refuse to buy games on PC especially, if those games implement those softwares onto your computer. So, with Symbiote, which is again this new form of DRM assumingly designed by Gearbox themselves, This opens up a new path to Pandora's box again that we really don't know the full extent of until this comes out for sure and players experience it firsthand. But Symbiote is theorized based on what I've read in research that it could not only impact your system stability, but also cause problems with other software on your computer as well. Of course, it also raises major privacy and security concerns with deeper system monitoring that you might not even be aware of. So I already know some people will say, so what's the big deal? How is DRM or this symbiote even bad? Well, a lot of reasons actually. The argument that players have against DRM is that it's unethical and actually only harms the paying customer in the end. It's alluded to say, you go buy a toaster or like a fridge, but in order for you to have that toaster or fridge in your home, some guy needs to show up to install a security camera in every single room of your house to watch you. Otherwise, you can't use that toaster or your fridge or anything else. That would obviously be a major security risk, not to mention it would be really freaky and weird not knowing that someone is literally watching everything you do 24/7. And in actuality, while you may think DRM might reduce piracy, it actually does the exact opposite. It's kind of been a hot topic for a long time now, since even GameDeveloper.com had articles all the way back in 2013, as you can see here, discussing why DRM will never actually stop piracy, but in fact, it will only make it far, far worse, which it actually has. As seen here in this article from Muso.com, which reads, regardless of the truth about performance, software bloat, and connectivity issues, the strength of feeling in the gaming community is huge. DRM is accused of being anti-consumer and are perceived as being to the detriment of player experience. For game studios, it's a very quick way to alienate your target market. They also state, as seen here, that DRM increases the file size required by a game and in some scenarios has been accused of reducing gameplay frame rate and limiting performance. Also, that DRM has to regularly verify legal ownership of the content, which obviously requires online connectivity. In such cases, people can't even play their games unless they're connected to the internet 24/7. So it's a failsafe in theory against piracy, but doesn't fully work as intended. Even game studios are losing hope in its implementation, like Capcom, for example, where they've had their games hacked regardless of DRM being implemented in the first place. As Muso says here, game studios and distributors need to protect their content online and take a stand against piracy, but the chosen strategy should not undermine the core product or hijack the conversation around a release. Gaming creates huge and passionate fan bases which need to be nurtured. Fans should not be left feeling as though their gameplay is being hindered, and it's exactly that. It's not a one-fix-all solution. And it's also created new problems that wouldn't have existed if DRM was never made a thing in the first place. As Fortinet says here in their article, while it does enable some level of protection such as assets and so on from various creatives, like game makers or maybe even authors, it's supposed to, in theory, avoid any legal problems that could arise from it. But regardless, it's hurting the wrong people in the long run. Because DRM doesn't affect the pirates of these content things, because all it really takes is one person who's skilled enough to crack it, and then the open seas of piracy are now open to all, and the DRM on that game means absolutely nothing to them anymore. So in turn, the DRM then only affects you who actually buys the game legitimately. But since a lot of people, out of principle alone, don't buy games with DRM because of that very reason, it can also lead to lower sales for games that do have it. Although this implementation of DRM might sound good, in Borderlands 4's case, all it will actually do is just harm the players who buy the game on Steam specifically, because now they aren't just having their computer's internal systems compromised, but now they will have this questionably named Symbiote DRM software that allegedly ties itself to the very kernel of your computer's operating system as well. So now you're getting double screwed for buying Borderlands 4 on Steam. Of course, DRM can also be used to mask poor sales from executives. They could claim, oh, the game didn't sell well because those damn pirates pirated our game. But the reality is that they only pirated it because you implemented DRM and then some in the first place. Even mobile games use their own versions of DRM to control how their games are accessed by implementing things like daily server side checks and licensing verifications. So while yes, it is an industry-wise used tactic, it's not a popular one, obviously. Gearbox has clearly implemented this now double DRM whammy on people, hoping that they wouldn't notice it amidst, that good PR with the $70 price point that they confirmed. And while that price is nice, it just now means that Steam players specifically will be paying another way. And sadly, like I said, the majority of PC players who don't know these things inside and out are going to be the biggest victims of things like this. And the video that I made before this one was about Activision Blizzard, and by extension Microsoft and Nintendo, forcing player behaviors to accept a you'll own nothing and be happy future when it comes to how you enjoy the content that you pay for. And what Gearbox has done here now is similarly being done to see if players will accept things like not one, but two different forms of anti-piracy invasion softwares on their computers when they buy these games. And Symbiote, as it seems anyway, is going to be like a super throttled version of DRM. And if those claims are true that it does latch itself to the kernel of your computer, at that point, Gearbox will have any and all info they want on you when you play Borderlands 4. And this Symbiote software, combined with how Gearbox updated the user agreements on their other Borderlands games, which also led to a mass review bombing as players didn't feel comfortable with the new terms of service as seen here, it seems like to me anyway that what Gearbox and 2K are doing are trying to push this mentality that they will only let you play their games if you allow them to essentially have all the user data they could possibly want from you down to your most private levels. It would be like going to a car dealership and they're like, yeah, we'll sell you a car, but only if you give us access to all the photos and videos on your phone. We also want to see your bank account whenever we want, and oh yeah, no more private conversations for you either. And anytime you FaceTime someone, just know we're going to be watching what you do too. But don't worry, enjoy that car you just bought. This is what Borderlands 4 is going to do to your PC pretty much if this is to be believed. They're going to own copies of all of your data, from your personal info down to having access to your entire computer system operations. So while sure, you get the brand, new shiny Borderlands game, oh wow, look at the shooting, wow, it looks so great, and you get to run around and collect guns and more, underneath that all, Gearbox and 2K, they're pretty much going to have access to everything you are in exchange for that game. And then, if this new Symbiote software becomes, widely accepted, where does the line of too much invasion of privacy begin and end then? But that's what I got for you there, and next I want to talk about some of the more positive aspects of the game before I close out this video. But you know all the story by now, right? Randy Pitchford says only real fans can buy the game. The internet imploded, and now we got confirmation on how expensive this game will really be. As Randy Pitchford himself confirms here, Borderlands 4 will be $70, not $80 at launch like most other games from Nintendo or even Microsoft. No doubt this was decided last minute to sway the discussion towards, positivity, especially with that Symbiote stuff, my god. But anyway, Randy says, you showed them, he means the investors and whatnot, and now we must show them that this price point will be rewarded in kind. Personally, I do think regardless at this point that Borderlands 4 will probably, sell well. I don't really see the game flopping. Sure, Borderlands may not have the same staying power it once had, especially after 3's god-awful story and that movie that came and went, but it does seem like, as a video game anyways, that Gearbox is learning from their mistakes and truly do want to give fans the game they deserve, piracy and anti-software aside, I guess. But there's a lot more than just the price, however. Of course, some places decided to, clap back, like Kotaku here with their article, saying that all this drama was for nothing, which, no Kotaku, it wasn't for nothing. Actually, the pushback was rightfully aimed at Gearbox and Randy for being morons, and people in fact do not want new games to cost this new price point. And the fact the game had to make a big splash to confirm its $70 proves that the backlash was warranted and actually worked. But of course, this is Kotaku we're talking about, which is, ran by morons. I'm still surprised that Kotaku even exists still. But I guess cockroaches always find a way to survive no matter what. That being said, beyond that $70 price point, there's other stuff that's kind of WTF to talk about surrounding the game. For starters, from GameSpot, Borderlands 4 post-launch plans include new Vault Hunters, but they won't be free. Too long, didn't read version. These new Vault Hunters will be added to Borderlands 4 via their more expensive editions. For example, the Super Deluxe Edition, which costs about $130 American, will have these new Vault Hunters included with that price when you buy it. Beyond this, Gearbox is also going to add a new region to Kairos, which is the planet that the game takes place on, in case you didn't know. And this new region and such will, as seen here, add new storylines, side missions, and tighter focused content. So I assume gameplay that will be more linear, which is fine by me. Each of these bounty packs, they're called, as seen here, will have new areas, missions, loot, vehicles, and more tied to each of them as well. Before people freak out, this is nothing really new. Borderlands has routinely paywalled new Vault Hunters and areas behind DLCs in the past. Think the original Mad Moxie DLC, characters like Krieg, Gage, and more, they were all DLC as well. So this is pretty standard practices for Gearbox, although currently I don't know the price points of these bounty packs. That being said, Randy Pitchford has also confirmed, as seen here from Insider Gaming, that he believes that Borderlands 4 will earn its value once players see exactly how much is on offer here, and honestly, I do believe him. The game does look good, besides the whole Symbiote thing. But Randy had some words to say about fans being worried about Borderlands 4 getting too greedy and screwing them over. Here's what he said. I think we see the angst about it most with the games people care about the most. The more someone cares about a game, the more the friction of that pricing is in the way. But look, it's all going to be fine. It's all going to work out. Maybe there are some people where that $10 difference is super meaningful. But from a video game hobbyist perspective, what does it really mean, the $10 difference? It means that you can't buy some $10 indie game, or that there was a $30 game that now you can only buy a $20 game. Like, how tight is it? We're talking about people that own consoles and own game-ready PCs here. We're not talking about homeless people. I'm not trying to be light about anything. The world's the world, man. We're all in it, doing the best we can. Everybody's just struggling, doing the best they can. He keeps going. The expectation should be that it's a premium game, it has a premium price, and that it launches as a full-featured, incredible value product that we might add more things to if you want to spend more time with it. It's not a live service conceit. It's not a microtransactions-based business model. Borderlands 4 is absolutely committing to the bit. It is a premium game. Look, I do believe that Borderlands 4 will definitely be worth the asking price, or at least hopefully anyway. I will be reviewing the game when it launches, and I do think that the biggest green flag for me for this game is the promise that its humor won't be R to the tarded like it was in the past. I mean, Borderlands 3 was like the Event Horizon of bad jokes. That game was just terrified to just let you play without some weirdo screaming in your ear every 5 seconds trying to drop another horrible joke to you. Actually, Borderlands 3's story and characters were so annoying, if I wasn't doing the main missions, I frankly just muted the game and listened to a podcast or music instead. Not only because the side missions story-wise were boring, which they were, but I just grew tired of some guy yelling all the time when I just wanted to play the game. So Borderlands 4 looks to tone this down, and honestly, thank God for that. It doesn't mean it can't still be funny, but I do think we can all agree that humor is best when it's used sparingly and smart. Not 100% 24/7 in your face all the time like Borderlands 3 tried and failed miserably at. That being said, it's not all Gearbox is working to fix. As seen here from Games Radar, they want to fix every problem that Borderlands 3 has had with this sequel. And this is all great and dandy, I'm not gonna lie. They're bringing value to the game. They want to fix the problems and not beat you over the head with stupid jokes 24/7. And this game is probably going to be great to play, and nothing wrong could be happening at all with it right. Well, if you take what I said about Symbiote and more, it just makes things seem more concerning than really anything else. But I guess before I end this video, let me ask you guys, how far is too far for you? Is DRM already enough for you to say no to everything? What about this whole Symbiote thing? And how about the whole EULA, changes that are still a thing on every Gearbox game as well? Is the invasion of privacy getting too much for you, or are you okay with it to stop piracy, I guess? Or are you just so hyped for this game that none of this really matters and you're just going to buy it anyways? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.